to another episode of Habits and Humor. I'm Susie B and I'm your host. I'm really excited for you guys to be here today because specifically today, we're talking about one of my very favorite topics. But if this is your first time joining us on this show, I want to explain a little bit about what Habits and Humor is and what you're doing here. So usually we start each episode with a funny story or an embarrassing moment, something like that, to first of all, make you laugh, to lighten the mood, to help you realize that you can make serious progress without taking life too seriously. So we offer a funny or embarrassing story to start off with a giggle, with a laugh, with something humorous, but also because embarrassing moments are incredibly memorable. If you think about your most embarrassing moment, you likely remember it vividly, correct? I like to use those stories because we learned so much. All day long, we're learning. And especially if you are into personal development, that kind of a thing, if you're like me, you're listening to podcasts all day long, you're just constantly intaking information. It's hard to remember a lot of it. So I find that using funny stories, using humor is a great way to not only help you realize that progress can come from any situation, but also that it can be memorable. I want to help you remember these things in a way that makes you feel positive about it, makes you realize, okay, you know what? If this person can do it, then I can do it. And we help you see that even through humongous, embarrassing blunders, we can still progress. We can still make amazing changes in our lives. And we can overcome anything that we feel like is holding us back. So today we are going to talk about, and the other half of the show is the habits portion of the show. Obviously, habits and humor. We start with humor so that it's fun, interesting, and memorable. And then we move into habits so that it's actionable. Again, like I said before, we're all learning and taking in information all day long. How do we turn that information into reality, into action, into actual change that we can affect in our lives? That is what we're doing here. We're going to start with what I call the 1, 2, 3 habit system next week. And I will go into what that is and give you the details about the 1, 2, 3 essentials and what those are and how you can use those. And that's kind of how we're going to transition the show for the next several weeks, months, possibly into the future. So we're going to work into what the 3 habits are and why they work. Today, I'm going to, of course, start with an embarrassing story. My husband and I had been married for just a couple of years, and we both had been on vacations before, but we'd always traveled with other people. I'd traveled with my family as a kid. He'd traveled for when he was on a mission for his church with companions and other people, and with his family as well. And so we'd always traveled with other people. But several years ago, in 2015, we took our first trip, just the 2 of us. We were so excited, and we were flying to Aruba. I will tell you more about this vacation and this story later, but for now, he and I are going to Aruba, and it's just the 2 of us. And we get to the airport, the 2 hours early like you're supposed to, and we go to our gate, make sure that we know what's going on. We're all on top of things, ready to go. And then we have an hour and a half to burn. So then we start wandering around the airport. We stop and we get lunch, and we're walking through these little shops and things and just trying to kill time. And at one point, we're sitting down eating dessert, and I hear over the loudspeaker, Suzanne and Braden Barrett, you need to come to your gate right now. Your plane is about to depart. And I looked down at my ticket and I'm like, hey, I know this flight time that says that we're departing at 9 a.m. It's only 8:30. Like, what do you mean the plane is about to depart? What are they talking about? So we jump up and we run down after hearing our names called over the loudspeaker. We run down there and they're like, okay, do you see on this ticket how it says departure time and boarding time? Those are not the same thing. We had no idea. Wouldn't even look at the boarding time. I don't know what that means. And so we get to the airplane and it's fine. We didn't miss our flight, luckily. I'm so glad that they called our names over the loudspeaker, but we had no idea. So this was an embarrassing story in that boarding time and departure time, not the same thing. Put that in your book. Remember that forever. So as our maiden voyage on vacation, just the 2 of us, we learned a very valuable lesson that day that we still use every day. That's the other key to teaching habits, is that it's something that you do now and you keep doing long into the future, long after you've stopped thinking about it. I no longer have to put in a special effort to realize that departure time and boarding time are not the same thing. Anyways, so talking about Aruba, what is today's episode about? Last week, or no, a couple of weeks ago, I put on my Facebook page a referral link for a travel rewards credit card. And this travel rewards credit card is one of the habits that I have in my life that has served me incredibly well. And I told people the story of how I travel for free. This trip that we went on to Aruba, we did not pay a dime for. It was completely free using travel credit rewards. And so a lot of people wanted to know more, wanted to know how this works and all of this kind of stuff. And as a responsible human being, I didn't feel like I could just say, yeah, here's a great credit card, go nuts, without giving some disclaimers, without giving a little bit of training. So that's what this episode is going to be about: how travel rewards works and how you can travel for free. I personally have taken 8 vacations that I have not paid for or have paid very little for. We started doing this 7 years ago. And well, let me just start at the beginning here. Once upon a time, there was a girl with a small family on a tight budget. She and her husband were students. They had a mortgage. They had a baby. Traveling was just out of the question until she found a way to travel for free. Travel rewards credit cards. So I discovered this when I was in the throes of, I had 2 brand new babies and my husband and I were still in school and we had bought our first house and the budget was just tight. And at this point, you kind of get to make a choice. Either you wait on something that you want that costs money, either you just have to put it off, or you find a way to make it happen. For example, if you want to buy designer clothes, but you can't afford them, you go to a consignment store that sells designer clothes for a discount price. That is a workaround for one of those tight budget barriers. Another workaround is if you want to vacation, but you cannot afford it, travel rewards credit card points. All right, so let me just give you a brief overview of how travel rewards has affected my life and the lives of my family. In 7 years of doing this credit card rewards traveling, we have gone to 4 different countries. We've covered 20 round trip flights. We've covered 6 cruises, 1 all-inclusive resort for 2 people, and 24 nights stay at a hotel. This is what I can remember. There might have been other things, but these are the things I can remember as I was making this presentation to show you. So these are all the places that we've gone to for free. We've gone to Aruba, Cabo, Mazatlan, Puerto Vallarta, San Diego, California, Las Vegas, the Grand Canyon, Salt Lake City, Utah, Kauai, Hawaii. That's where my shirt is from. I'm wearing my Hawaii shirt for you. Cancun, Mexico, Costa Maya, Mexico, the Bahamas, Cozumel, Roatan, Honduras. We've gone to all of these places, you guys, and total, all of these things, we have barely paid any money out of pocket for. Like I said before, this was an amazing discovery that I made in 2013 or 14, and it absolutely has changed our lives. We now go on lots of vacations, probably about 1 a year, but we don't pay for them. Or if we do, we pay very, very little. And it is always in our budget because we don't have to budget for it. It's amazing. It's absolutely transformed the way that I see money and the way that we are able to see the world. So, terms that we need to go over before we get into how travel rewards work. 3 of them are very important, and I'm going to be covering these and talking about them a lot. So I need you to know what they are. Some of you already know all of this and you're like, hey, let's get to the good part. I promise we're getting there, but I want to make sure we have a good base first. Those of you that are new to travel rewards credit cards, pay attention to these 3 terms. The first one is minimum spend. So when you sign up for a brand new credit card, they almost always have a requirement of a minimum spend, which means if you spend a certain amount, the amount that they say, in the time frame they give you, they will reward you with a lump sum of bonus points, which leads me to step number 2. Those bonus points are called the sign-on bonus. A sign-on bonus is that lump sum that you get for reaching the minimum spend. So, for example, one of the credit cards I use is the Capital One Venture card. Most of the time, Their minimum spend is you have to spend $3,000 in 3 months. Most minimum spends are 3 months time period, and some are between $1,000 and $5,000. There are a few others, and we'll go over some of the details of those other ones in a minute. But for now, minimum spend means the amount of money you need to spend in the time frame they give you to get the bonus points. And then terminology number 3 is rewards. What are the rewards? This is what the company is going to give you in return for you using their product. Capital One wants you to use the Capital One card because every time you do, they get 3% from the merchant that you're buying from. Often, if you buy things online, you'll notice that sometimes there's a credit card fee on top of whatever the cost of the product is. That's because the merchant is covering what the credit card gets paid. That is how travel rewards is legal, and that is how it is not too good to be true. People are often thinking like, okay, nothing in life is free. It sounds too good to be true. This is not one of those things. Travel rewards is absolutely reality that anyone can do. I'm going to show you in the rest of this episode how you can apply this to your life, no matter what your budget is, no matter what your lifestyle is, no matter what your travel goals are. And I'll show you how to personalize it so that it works for you. So know that the rewards are what the company gives you for using their product. And this is what you get for signing up for their card. First thing we need to cover are what I call the cardinal rules. You see my lame pun there? Cardinal, get it? So there are 6 rules that I want you to know before you even consider credit card rewards traveling, okay? As a human being in this world who is very financially conscious, I was raised by a CPA who's brilliant and have always been very money conscious. I want to help you to also be financially conscious. And I don't want this to be a stressful part of your life. This should be a bonus, happy piece of your financial life, not something that brings you down, causes you stress, and ruins your life, which credit cards have the potential to do. So we want to make sure that we do it right. These 6 rules are going to help you do it right. Rule number 1 is always carry a 0 balance. This means, actually, I'm not going to tell you what all of these are first. We'll go into them on the next slide. But for this one, I'm just going to breeze through what the 6 rules are. Always carry a 0 balance, $0 balance. Step number 2, or rule number 2, don't spend extra money to make travel rewards work. This has to work with what you already spend normally. Do, however, maximize travel rewards when you have to spend extra on something. Big one-off purchases are a gold mine when it comes to travel credit card rewards. I'm going to tell you how to use that in just a minute. Step number 3 is to know your credit score and the details of your score. I'll tell you how to do that in just a minute. Step number 4, or rule number 4, is fees versus frees. There's a lot of free cards out there, but there's also a lot of fee cards out there. You approach them completely differently, so you need to be able to differentiate between the two and which one you need based on rules 1, 2, and 3. Rule number 5 is keep detailed records. You guys, I'm a nerd and I love spreadsheets. I need you to love spreadsheets as well when it comes to travel rewards. You need to keep dates of when you signed up for the card. You need to write down who the account holder is. I manage the finances for both me and my spouse. And as my kids get older, I will also manage it for them when they are 16, 17, 18 years old. So you need to know who the card is under. You need to write down details of the deal that you signed up for, what the bonuses are, what the redemption options are, what the timeline is, what the minimum spend is, and what the timeline is, all of that kind of stuff. You need to know those details. You might think you'll remember it, but you probably won't. So keep a spreadsheet, make a little quick column for each of those options. I use Google Docs or Google Sheets, and it's incredibly easy to keep track of every single detail of how I do this. So I always know what's going on. I always know what steps I need to take to make sure that I'm covered and I am on top of it. Doesn't take a lot of time, but you should be detail oriented when it comes to this. Step number 6, rule number 6 is don't push yourself to take risks when you're doing this. The risks of credit cards are real. And when it comes to having credit as part of your financial life, you don't want to take risks. You do not want to push yourself to take on more than you can handle so that you can reach the next level of rewards. That is not a risk worth taking. You want to be super safe, super smart, and super ahead of the game when it comes to credit, not behind the game. All right, so let's go into each of these 6 rules and talk about exactly what they are and what they mean. Rule number 1, $0 balance. I want you to use your credit card like a debit card. If you don't have the money, like in the world, people want you to think that a credit card is you can spend the money now and you don't have to pay for it till later. I want you to throw that out the window and never think that thought again. If you don't have the money, don't put it on the card. Simple as that. If you're not in a place where you can make that happen yet, I also have some really good personal finance tips in my book, Life Conscious by Susie B. You can grab this on Amazon and check out the finance chapter, help you get ahead. In this book, I talk about how the difference between living paycheck to paycheck and living ahead of the game with a savings account, investments, and all of those other things is 1 month. So if you're feeling like it's overwhelming and it's too hard, know that you can handle this. You can do this. So get to the point where you can use a credit card like a debit card and have a 0 balance all the time. 1, because it keeps you on top of things, and 2, because it's really good for your credit score, which we're going to get into in the next rule. But for now, know that you want to pay off your credit card weekly or even daily if you can. Sometimes it takes a couple of days for transactions to process. That's okay. Just pay them off as soon as you have any money on that card, pay them off. And if you don't have the money to pay it off, don't spend the money on the card. Wait until you have the money, then purchase the thing. I promise it'll be worth it every time. All right, rule number 2, know your credit score and the details about it. Credit score is basically what a company needs to know about the way you use money. This is how they see if they can trust you to have their opportunity to spend. This affects your ability to get a job, your ability to get housing, your ability to get a loan, your ability to buy a house, your ability to get approved for any travel rewards credit cards. This is a big important factor in your financial life. So I need you to know what it is, how to use it, and how to monitor it. I want you to monitor your credit score. There's a free way to do this, and I will explain this in just a minute. Credit rewards help you raise your credit score if you do it right. If you do it wrong and you're missing payments and falling behind, it will ruin your credit score and it will ruin your financial life. So don't go there. If I'm making you a little bit scared, good. I want you to be just a little bit, not scared, but a little bit precautious so that you stay on top of this and realize this is really important and it needs to be a priority in your thinking. This isn't just going to be like, oh, some side thing that just shows up and all of a sudden I can travel for free. If you want to travel for free, you got to put in the work. If your credit score, so let's talk about the numbers. Their credit scores go between 300 basically up to 850. 850 is the maximum credit score. You want a credit score of over 700 at all times. Over 780 and over 800 is the best. If you want the very best rates on loans or things like that, you need a score that is above 780 or even 800, depending on what the loan is. I always try to keep mine above 800, but if you're not there yet, that's okay. If your score is less than 700 or less than 650, I encourage you to work on your personal finances first before you start doing travel rewards, just because there are some other baseline foundational elements you need to get under control first. But if your credit score is 700 or more, this can be a super spectacular way to boost your credit score. How do you know what your credit score is? There is a free tool called Credit Karma where you can monitor your credit score. You've been told that every time someone checks your credit, it dings your credit or makes your credit score go down. There are 2 kinds of inquiries, hard inquiries and soft inquiries. Hard inquiries are someone who you are asking for money or for a loan or for a credit card, something like that. Someone who you are asking for their financial services. They are going to check your credit score and know what kind of a spender you are. Anytime any company wants to know what your credit score is, these are banks, these are, car companies, these are anyone who is trying to offer you a loan, these are called hard inquiries. And this is true. This will negatively affect your credit score, but not for very long, and it's not really a big deal. But know that that is true. The other kind of inquiry is called a soft inquiry, and this is credit monitoring that you do personally yourself. Anyone else who wants to know your credit score, that's a hard inquiry. You do it yourself, that's a soft inquiry. So you can check your credit score as many times as you want. When I was doing travel rewards, when I was first beginning, and I wanted to really be on top of it and wanted to be really ahead of the game, I monitored my credit score every single day. This was one of my daily habits. I would check it and make sure, mine and my husband's. I had created both accounts for both of us on Credit Karma so that I could make sure that every decision I was making was having a positive impact on our credit, not a negative one. So what impacts your credit? Where do these numbers come from? What does it even mean? There are 6 things that affect your credit score. These are called factors. There are 3 that are high impact factors. And if these 3 happen, your number can jump quite a bit. We're talking 50 points at a time, even more than that. It's hundreds of points at a time. Your medium impact factors, these are ones that can bring your credit score down or up. And usually they won't fluctuate a lot. Like it won't go down 30 points and then come back up. It'll come down and it'll stay there for a while. Same thing with high impact. Once you are affected by that, it takes years even to recover from something like that. And then the third kind is low impact factors. This is those inquiries, like I was talking about before. Like I said before, it might ding your credit for a couple of days, but it's only going to drop a few points and it'll come right back up after a couple of weeks. Low impact usually only affects you for a few weeks. Medium impact usually only affects you for a few months or a few points. And high impact can make a massive effect on the number, on your credit score number. So what are these factors? Let's talk about the high impact ones first. There are 3 of those: history, use, and marks. History is the proof that you know how to use a credit card, that you know how to make your payments on time. This is how often you miss a payment, things like that. So if your history shows that you always pay your balances off, then your history factor is going to go up. That was why I want you to pay this off weekly, daily. Every time you pay it off, that history factor goes up. Big boost, big bonus. Usage is the amount of money that you're using versus the amount of money that you're allowed to use. People talk often about how it's bad for your credit to maximize a credit card out, or to max out a credit card, right? This means, let's give a simple example. Let's say you have a credit card that your credit limit, which is the maximum amount you can spend on that card, is $10,000. If you spend $10,000 on that card, it's going to negatively impact your credit score. Big time. This is a major factor. So how do we make sure we never take advantage and we never overuse the credit limit? Never, ever, ever go above 29% of your credit limit on every individual card. There's lots of differing opinions out there and lots of different information that say your total limit, 30%, things like that. But I have tested this in my own life and in my own finances. Every individual loan or every individual card, every credit account you have open has a limit. You need to stay under 30% of that limit. And I mean under. I went once on one of my cards to 30%. It was exactly 30.0%. My credit score dipped 28 points. 28 points, you guys, for 1%. Do you know how fast I paid off that dang card? I couldn't believe it. It was absolutely crazy. So stay 29% or lower. 29% or lower. Between or below 10% is ideal. That is where you're going to get your best boosts. So anytime you can keep your credit under 10%, which 0 is under 10%. Another reason I want you to keep a 0 balance. So anytime you have a balance, make sure you pay it off so that it stays below 29%. If you keep that balance at 29% and your credit statement comes due, that's when they send you a notification of, hey, this is your credit card bill for the month. That number is going to attach interest to it. So when your credit statement closes, this is another number you should know, another date you should know. Know when your credit card statement ends and make sure before that point you have a 0 balance. For me, one of my credit cards statements ends on the 2nd of every month. So I always check on the 30th, the 31st, the last day of the month, and make sure I have a zero balance on that card. So that when my statement comes around, I show I'm an awesome usage, awesome history person, and you should give me benefits for this. My credit score always goes up. The third factor is derogatory marks. This is the big things like missed payments, or if you have a card that goes to collections that you're behind on payments for, repossessions, foreclosures, things like that. These take years to recover from, so avoid these at all costs. If you've gone through one of these, it's not the end of the world. Know that this number will go away after 7 years, but it will take you some time to rebuild that credit. Work on it. Maximize those number 1 and number 2 if you have derogatory marks. And do whatever you can to never miss a payment. Like I said before, it's not the end of the world. If you are not mastering those 3, it's okay, but please start now to make this a really big priority and keep your usage under 29%, keep your history positive so that you're always making your payments on time, and avoid derogatory marks as much as you can. And if you already have them, it's okay. Just keep on keeping on until you recover from those. Factor number, or your medium impact factor, is credit age. This one is, I'm glad it's a medium factor because it's not a huge deal, but it is a big deal, if that makes sense. So credit age just means how long you've had all of your accounts, the average lifetime span that you've had them open. If I open my very first credit anything today, my credit age will be 1 day. So a good recommendation here is to start before you think you need it. As a parent, I am going to have my kids open their very first credit card when they turn 16 years old, so that they will have a longer credit age by the time they get to the point of their lives that they need to be needing a credit score, where they need to buying houses and getting loans and getting approved for housing, things like that. So if you aren't there, if you don't have credit open, it's okay, but know that it's going to take you a couple of years before this number will go up. It is the average of all of your open accounts. So another reason you need to know this is because if you have multiple cards, which I'm going to show you how to do, every time you open one and close it, your age average drops. Some of the fee cards, which we'll talk about next, you're not going to want to keep them open for very long because they're very expensive. And so you're going to want to close those cards. But if you have a low credit score, if credit age is already a problem for you, we're just going to avoid those kind of cards and make sure that that is a factor that goes up instead of down. The third kind of factors are those low impact factors, the total accounts that you have open. Most credit companies want to know that you are using credit and you can be trusted. If you only have 1 card open and you've never had a loan, it's going to be harder for you to get a loan, which doesn't make sense, but it's true. They want to see about 5 accounts on your name before they will trust you with something like that. So if you and your spouse come together and you both have a credit card from when you were teenagers, perfect. That's 2 accounts that they can reference. You want to have somewhere between 5 and 20 accounts in your name. And these will stay on there again for 7 years. So even when we had student loans back in college, those were payments that these companies could reference up until 7 years after we paid those loans off. Does that make sense? So these stay with you for a long time. But the total number of accounts, somewhere between 5 and 20 is the sweet spot. Once you get over 20, some credit card companies are like, this seems a little sus, and they won't approve you. So just know that that's a possibility. And hard inquiries, we already talked about that. When somebody else needs to know what your credit is like, what kind of a spender you are, that's called a hard inquiry. This can affect you for a couple of months, couple of weeks, and it's not a huge dip. But if it's a frequent thing, if you're constantly applying for cards, constantly applying for loans, that number will come down. So we'll talk about a rule to help you avoid that as well in the next few slides. Rule number 3 is fees versus frees. I already referenced this, but there are 2 kinds of cards. Free cards that have no yearly fee, and fee cards that have a yearly fee. Fee cards are usually, what is the point? Why would you get a fee card? If it costs money, why would you get it? Because usually their sign-on bonuses are way bigger and their rewards are way better. So oftentimes It is based on what your credit score is. You need to know that score. If your credit age is very low, don't open a fee card because you're going to have to close it after a year or two, and it's going to make your age come down more. If your credit age is a low number, if you only have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years of credit age, go with free cards, because once you open a free card, you can keep it open forever. And then 7, 10, 15 years from now, you have an awesome card that can counterbalance your shorter age cards. This is a big deal. Again, you can keep free cards open. So we start with free cards. I'm always going to recommend that your first card should be a free one that you open now, keep open for the rest of your life. The other kind is the fee card, and those you're going to want to close after a couple of years when the rewards no longer outweigh the fee. If you're still getting, so let's say, for example, the Capital One Venture card, that one is $95 a year. I usually go on one trip a year. So as long as I'm getting $95 worth of rewards from that card, it's worth keeping open. I've had my Capital One Venture card open for several years now. The fee is worth it to me because I'm okay to pay it, because the rewards I get from that card are more than $95 a year. You have to know what the value is for you and if it's worth it for you. Other cards that I've opened before have a bigger fee or have smaller rewards, and they weren't worth it for me. So I would use the card, get the sign-up bonus, spend the points, and then close the card within a year so that I didn't have to pay that yearly fee. Some cards out there will waive your first year yearly fee, so you can keep them open for 2 years, which is awesome. Some cards have a really, really high fee, which if they also have a really, really high sign-on bonus can still be worth it. You just have to kind of weigh and balance and see what the differences are. And then there's also a third option. Sometimes you can get a fee card, and after a year, you can downgrade it to a free account. An example of this is the Chase Sapphire card. I think this one's still available for businesses, but I think they eliminated the personal card option for this one. I got it when there was still a personal card option, and we used it to get a cruise and for free. And so once I had used the points for the cruise, I called to cancel the card, but my credit age was sort of getting shorter and younger, and I didn't like that. So I asked them and I said, hey, is there an option to keep this card open under a free account? And they said, yeah, we'll just switch it over to the Chase Freedom card. So I turned my Chase Sapphire into Chase Freedom. Same account, stayed open, is now a beautiful benefit for my credit score instead of a negative derogatory mark. Not a derogatory mark, sorry, a negative age factor. Is this all making sense? I'm throwing out so much information here. If you have comments or questions or anything like that, feel free to email me, message me. Anyway, yes, feel free to ask questions. I'm an open book about this kind of stuff. Rule number 4 is keep detailed records. I already referenced this before, but please start a spreadsheet. If you're a spreadsheet geek, this will be so easy for you. If you're not a spreadsheet geek, become a spreadsheet geek. I promise you, it does not take that much time, and it is so worth it every single time. So worth it. And what do we put on that spreadsheet? Mine is probably 12 columns. And I have a different piece of every column. So I have the date that I opened it, who the account holder is, if there are any authorized users on the account, the date that, or the time that I need to do the minimum spend, what the minimum spend amount is, what the bonus point is, what the rewards are, how to use them, and details and details and details like that. I also have a column for my fee cards, what day I need to close it to avoid the yearly fee. That is a very important column to me. On my fee cards, I always make sure that I put needs to be closed by 1 month before. So if I signed up for a card right now, March 18th, I am going to put the date in that column to close the card February of next year. That way I make sure that I've closed it and the window isn't missed. That way I don't get charged that fee for next year. So you have a year before your next fee is due. Some of those cards charge the fee up front. Some of them will give you a year waived. So again, make sure that value is worth it for you for that first year. Rule number 5, don't push yourself. Again, if it is something where it feels like, oh, that might be really hard to reach, that's not the card for you. Start small, start safe, start where you know you can get the points, where you know you can keep the card open. There are so many free options, so many good options. I'm going to tell you a bunch of them before the end of this episode. But know that you don't have to take risks. You don't have to push yourself and be unsure if you can reach it. Stay safe, stay smart, do what you know you can handle. And make sure that you can always carry a zero balance. Again, if you have to push yourself to spend extra money and you're not sure if you'll be able to pay it off, not worth it. Always carry a zero balance. Rule number one, if you can't pay the money today, if you can't pay it off daily, don't do it. Don't go there. And rule number 6, don't spend extra money to make the rewards work. I kind of just said this, but here is a workaround for this one. If you have a big one-off purchase that you're going to have to make, like let's say when I had my babies, I knew I would have a hospital bill that was pretty substantial. Our budget when we were having babies was pretty small. We didn't spend thousands of dollars a month. We spent hundreds of dollars a month. So to sign up for a card with a minimum spend of $3,000 in 3 months, not possible for us. No way. There was no way we were going to push ourselves to get there. However, if I sign up for a card 2 weeks before I have a baby, within a month, I'm going to get a hospital bill that's thousands of dollars. All of a sudden, I can pay off my medical bill using that credit card. And then again, you have to have this money beforehand. So I use the credit card to pay the medical bill. Then I use my bank account to pay off the credit card, all in the same day or the same week. And my minimum spend is met in one purchase. That is my favorite. I love it when I can do that. I'm going to do it again next month with my daughter's braces. Anytime you have to spend a big amount of money that you already have, you know you're going to pay for it in cash, do it with this card and then pay it off. Then all of a sudden, I mean, I'm going to pay for the braces either way. I've got to pay the medical bill either way, but I might as well get a free trip out of the deal. Do you see where I'm going with this? So one-off purchases are a great time to sign up for a card right before that purchase is due. Give yourself a couple of weeks. Sometimes it takes weeks for the application process and the card to actually get to you. So give yourself a couple of weeks window. But if you know you have a big expense coming up, we did this a lot when we were building our house as well. If we'd have to buy, $10,000 worth of something at Home Depot, we could get a really big spend credit card, get a really big bonus, and use that for that. Awesome way to cover your one-off purchases and get a free trip out of the deal. Again, don't put it on the card if you don't have the money. That's not what we're saying. Carry a zero balance all the time. Rule number 1. It's a reason that's number 1. So remember, expensive car repairs, things like that. If you have something coming up that you're going to pay for with cash, use a card instead and then pay it off immediately. You'll get the immediate sign-on bonus, and then you can just put that card in the cabinet. I'll show you how to do that in just a minute. So quick disclaimer, you can see my little asterisk down here. If you're listening to this on the podcast, that's okay too. But if you can follow these 6 cardinal rules, carrying a zero balance, monitoring your credit score, knowing the difference between fee cards and free cards, keeping detailed records, not pushing yourself beyond your limits, and not spending extra to make rewards work, credit rewards will be awesome for you. If you can follow these 6 rules, keep listening, keep with us. Let's go through how to actually use it. If these are not rules that you are following yet, stop the presentation here. Buy the Life Conscious book, hire someone to help you, reach out, take a course, reach out to me, ask some questions, get your finances mastered first, and then get into free travel. If you're already financially strapped, this is not the next step. You need to get your finances in order first, then free travel will benefit you. Again, I started this when we had a tight budget. We were not spending a lot of money, but we were not in debt either. So pay off your credit cards that you currently have. Make sure that you are living within your means, not beyond your means. And if you are, that's okay. I'm not saying that there's anything negative about that. I'm just saying travel rewards credit cards are for you if you can follow these 6 cardinal rules. All right, so 3 more warnings before we get into the fun stuff. Free travel is not free. Nothing in life is free, not even free travel. So in order to reap the amazing rewards, you're going to have to pay something. Lucky for you, it's not money. If money is tight for you, that's okay. You can do this when money is tight. You should do this when money is tight. It's good, great fun, and it'll make you happy. At least it did for me. You do have to pay your time, your focus, and your discipline. You got to be on top of this. If this is something that you're not willing to put time into, it will run away from you and will cause more problems than benefit for you. Don't go there. If you are, however, willing to be dedicated and look into this stuff, keep detailed records and stay on top of things, this will be awesome. If not, travel rewards isn't for you. Just travel the normal way when you have money and pay someone to plan it out for you. That's great. Go for it that way. So without those three ingredients to this process, time, focus, and discipline, you're going to be juggling too much and it's going to be a recipe for disaster. Don't go there. Free travel costs you only your time and focus. Free travel is not convenient. If you're the kind of person who just wants to make a phone call and tell them when you want to go, where you want to go, and have it just come emailed back to you, cool, that's awesome. Hire a travel agent. Don't go into free travel rewards credit cards. It's not going to be worth your time. If, on the other hand, that you're okay with inconvenient flight times, traveling in the off season, if you don't care about the experience of getting to your destination, sometimes your flights are crappy. Sometimes your dates are crappy. But if those are okay factors for you, this is going to be awesome. Reward away. Go for it. Again, you have to ask yourself, do the rewards outweigh the fees and inconvenience of this process? If it's worth it for you, go for it. It's always worth it for me because I don't think it takes too much time. And I have a really good system to keep detailed records and things like that. Like I said, I've gone to 4 countries for free. It's pretty amazing. Like I love doing this. This is a habit that I have in my life that I will continue to do for the rest of my life. Again, I am not an expert in the travel world. I do not have a degree in finance. I have experience, and this is my personal experience. All of this stuff I'm talking to you about is what I know to be true because of my own experience. If you want someone more educated, more in this area of expertise, go for it. That's great. Awesome. Yes, reach out, find an expert. If you are okay with just following my journey and then going and making it your own, figuring out your way, perfect. This is a free resource for you to use. Take it or leave it. All right. So when? Let's start with the question when. When should I get or when should I close a card? The sweet spot is between 4 and 24 months. If you're planning a trip next week, you're not going to have enough time to get any rewards. This isn't going to work. If, however, you're planning a trip in 6 months, stellar. That's awesome. It takes about 3 months to hit that minimum spend, and then it takes 1 or 2 months to process that big bonus, that sign-on bonus. And then it takes a couple of weeks to book the trip. So 6 months is ideal. You can squeeze it into 4 months if you have one of those one-off purchases, something like that, where you get the minimum spend within the first couple of weeks. Absolutely, totally possible. If, however, you're planning a trip in like 3 or 4 years, you might end up paying a lot of fees and things like that that might not make the trip worth it. So unless you're sticking to free cards, if you're doing free cards 3 or 4 years from now, awesome, go for it. Rule number 2 is on timeline, the 3 to 6 month rule. I only open a card every 3 to 6 months. If you apply for credit more often than once every 3 months, it will continually negatively impact your credit. You only want to apply 1 time every 3 months maximum. 6 months is better, 3 months is minimum. So when you're opening a new credit card, you want to make sure that when you're applying, make sure it's been 3 months since you applied before. Whether you got accepted or denied, give it 3 months before you apply for another one. And again, 3 months is about the time that it takes to get your sign-up bonus hit. And you're going to want 3 to 6 months on each card. So here's how I do it. I open a card, I hit the minimum spend, and then I stop using the card. As soon as I get the minimum spend, I get the bonus. So we'll use Capital One, for example. I got the $3,000 minimum spend in the first 3 months, and then I continued to use the card until I saw that 100,000 bonus points show up on my card statement. Once I saw that I had earned my 100,000 bonus points and I had a 0 balance, I put that card in my cabinet. I quit using it. I only use them to get that bonus if it's a if it's a fee card. If it's a fee card, I only do it to get the sign-on bonus because usually the sign-on bonus is where the money is at, is where the reason that you have the fee card is at. And then I stop spending on that card and I Just know where it is. I keep it in a certain folder so that as soon as I'm ready to book my trip, I can pull that out and use those rewards to book the trip. Then I open another card. Sometimes I'll use that same card for the full 6 months. I'll wait, I'll keep using it for 6 months. Then I'll pay off the balance, put it in a cabinet, and then open another card. The past 2 years, I've only ever had one card, which is unusual for me, but sometimes, I mean, it just depends on what's going on. So 1 card at a time. That's rule number 3. Know that it's so much simpler if you only have 1 card at a time. Often people are like, okay, we want to go on a trip, so we're going to need a hotels card and a flights card and an additional spending card, right? So we're going to open 3 cards. Holy smokes. Realize that when you open 1 card, you have to hit that minimum spend. When you open another card, you also have to hit that minimum spend. So if I had opened a Capital One card for myself and one for my husband at the same time, we would have to spend $6,000 in 3 months to get those points. We're not going to do that. So I'm not going to do that. If you are about to, like I said before, if you're buying a house and you're dropping $10,000, or if you're building a house and you're dropping $10,000 on something, cool. You can totally sign up for 1 card for yourself, 1 card for your spouse, hit that minimum spend, pay those off, and put them in a cabinet. That's awesome. Most of us, though, we're going to want to stick with 1 card at a time. Keep that card for 6 months. Make sure you get the bonus. Make sure you get the minimum spend, all of that. Pay off your balance, and then put it in a cabinet. So even if it's in your cabinet and you're moved on to the next card, still watch it sometimes. Check back maybe once a month and just make sure that something didn't show up. Sometimes I'll put like a subscription on there, like a Netflix subscription or something on my card. And for 6 months, I pay $15 on that card and it continues to get me points. However, if I forget to put that Netflix subscription onto my new card, it's going to keep charging that card. So if I put that card in the cabinet and then 3 months later I check, even if it's only a $15 balance, I've missed 2 payments. That's a problem. So watch for subscriptions because they might sneak up on you. I continually check my balances once a month on all of my open cards, whatever they are. And I do this for about a year before I know that there's no subscriptions. Some things are yearly subscriptions. I have my insurance go out once a year on these cards. And if I'm not sure which card it's on, that's going to be a problem. So make sure that you are, again, just on top of it. Just keep detailed records, know where your money is going, know which card you're using and where your subscriptions are. If you want to avoid this, just keep your subscriptions all on a free card. Make sure you pay that one every month. That's how I do it. And then use your other expenses like groceries and gas and things that aren't going to be monthly bill on your bigger rewards, your fee cards. And then, again, make sure that you know that you got the bonus points, you know you finished with 1 card before you apply for another card. That 3 to 6 month mark is really great. It's a good rule to follow. And then know that rule number 4 is oftentimes with these cards, sometimes with the fee cards, you're going to want to close them after a year, right? If you close them, you can't use the points anymore on most cards. There's a few that you still can, but most cards, if you close the card, you lose the points. I'm going to tell you a story about that in just a minute. But be warned that you have to have that card open in order to use the rewards. So make sure that that is, you know what you're planning, what you're going to be doing for your travel. The next question is what am I looking for when I sign up for a card? Which card? What are the top things to watch for? 1, that sign-on bonus. This is the main event. This is where the deals are. And these change. This isn't going to be like if you check the Capital One card today, if the bonus is kind of low, you're like, well, that doesn't sound worth it. Check it again in a month. Check it again in 6 months. These change all the time. Sometimes they're doing special deals. Sometimes they're doing normal deals. Again, watch for them. And if you watch one card for a couple of months, you'll tend to know what the biggest bonuses are. Or you can Google it. The Points Guy, NerdWallet, websites like that often share what the bonus points were at some point. And so if he or I share with you, I got a $100,000 bonus when I signed up for a Capital One Venture card. If you look on there and it's only a 30,000 points bonus, you realize, like, okay, I can wait for a better deal. Number 2, fees. Is there a yearly fee? Is there a fee the first year? Is that fee going to be worth your time? Some fees are crazy. Some of these cards are like a $500 yearly fee. If you're not going to get $1,000 worth of free travel on that card that year, do not go there. I never, ever sign up for a card that has more than $100 yearly fee, ever. That is just not something I will do. So check the fees, make sure it's worth it. Number 3, what is the minimum spend and what is the time frame? And does that fit your budget? Again, when I first started this, there is no way I could have spent $3,000 in 3 months. Those cards were out of the question for me. Now, those cards fit in right in my budget. I've got a family of 6. That's just what we spend. In 3 months, we spend $3,000. So that is a comfort zone for us, knowing that if I open this card, I can hit $3,000. Again, this has to be your budget. This is where you need to know your credit score, know your budget, know what is good for you. If your credit age is low, pick a free card. Those generally have lower minimum spends. The Capital One Venture One card is only $1,000 in 3 months. Most people will spend $1,000 in 3 months. If you're not those people, that's okay. Look for an even smaller card with a lower minimum spend. And know what the time frame is. Most of them are 3 months. Some of them are 1 month. So make sure you're watching the fine print. Number 4 is the point system. How do you get the points and how much are they valued? And what are they for? I guess that's number 5. We'll get into that. So point system. Some cards will offer you 1 point per dollar. Some cards will offer you 2 points per dollar. Some cards will offer you 10 points per dollar on certain items spent. Sign up for the cards that you know that you're going to spend on those things. I have a card right now that gives me 10 points per dollar at a gas station. I know I'm going to be at the gas station all the time. That card is gold for me. Number 5 is, what are the redemption options? What kind of a trip are you planning? You have to know that before you know what card to get. If you are needing hotel stays, get a hotels card. If you're needing flights, get a flights card. If you're needing other things, get a card that covers other things. The Barclay card, the Chase Sapphire card, the Capital One card, those all cover multiple kinds of travel expenses. I've used those for park tickets. I've used those for cruises, that kind of thing. Know what it is that you're going to get and then pick a card that aligns with that. I've used flight cards for, like Delta card. There's a Delta card if you're going on a Delta flight, if you're know where your flights go to. Say, for example, if I want to fly internationally, I can't get a flights card with a flight company or an airline that only flies domestically. So you have to know what your trip is that you're looking for before you start, and then what the value of the points is. With Delta, with their card, their bonus points are pretty high. So when I first signed up for that card, I was like, oh, sweet, I get 100,000 points for signing up for this card with a low minimum spend. But their flights were crazy expensive. It cost $50,000 for one round trip flight. Southwest, however, they gave me only 40,000 points when I signed up for them, but that bought me 10 flights. Their flights point system is much cheaper. So go on the website, make sure that you're Googling these numbers and figure out what the value of the points are. And then check for extra perks. Sometimes they give you an extra lump sum if you add an authorized user. Sometimes they give you free nights. Sometimes they give you a companion pass. Southwest right now is doing a companion pass. So every time I use points to buy a flight, I get another flight. So I use 10,000 points to buy one round trip ticket. I get a second round trip ticket for 0 points. It's amazing. Go get that card right now if you can. If it fits for you, that's a great one. And I think that deal goes till the end of March. I could be wrong. Might have been in the end of February. But anyway, go look at that, Southwest. And other partner companies, let's say that you are going to use a flights card, but maybe you're going to have some leftover points. What can I get those leftovers, or do I just lose those points? Again, back to that Delta card. When I booked my Delta flight, I had 3,000 points left on that card that just went to waste. I didn't have any, there was no way for me to use those points. Capital One, however, you can use those points for any travel expense. So if I had 20 points left on the card, I would find a way to spend that on some sort of travel expense. You can, and some of them offer like a cashback option. If you've just got a couple of points left over after what you actually use the card for, you can get some cash back. That's a good thing to know. Some of them have partner companies, like some of the flight cards, you can also get a hotel, things like that. So look into the perks, look into the bonuses, look into all of it. And then which card is best for me? Know before you go. I've already hit on this once, but again, what kind of a trip are you planning? What are you going to need to do to get there? Do you need flights? Do you need hotels? Do you need park tickets or cruises or resort fees? Or what kind of expenses are you going to have? Look into those cards. All right, let's get into the details of the actual cards themselves. Which card is the best? Capital One is king. Okay, these people have mastered the art of travel rewards. They have a built-in booking system on their site, which has saved me multiple times. I love their built-in booking system. They also have what's called the purchase eraser, which no other card that I've ever seen has this. This means you can use this card to purchase a travel expense on anything, any website, in any place, anything. And you can go back into your credit card and get that credit back. So let's say I spend $50 at a golf course. I go back into my credit card and I type in purchase eraser. It gives me $50 back from my points. It's amazing. I love the purchase eraser. Makes it so easy. But they also have that built-in booking tool. So you can book multiple ways with Capital One. They have two card options. They have a free card, which I think should be everyone's first card. If you are new to travel rewards, get the Capital One Venture One card. Remember, they have the same name. They're both Venture One. This one has the purchase eraser. It has the built-in booking. It has no fee. So whether you have great credit or terrible credit, this is one you can open and keep open forever. It's amazing. I love this card so much. This card alone took us on our first 3 trips. We did 3 trips on this one card. It's amazing. I love the Capital One Venture One card. I will always have this card, always, always, always. Capital One Venture, that one has a way bigger sign-on bonus. That one has way better rewards. You get 2 points for every dollar versus 1.25 that you get with the Venture One, but it also has a yearly fee. So this one I'm a little more careful with. I only have it if I know I'm going to use it within the year. Sometimes you can get that fee waived if you prove to the company that you are a good customer and you call them when your yearly fee is due. I've done this twice. I called Capital One and say, hey, I've paid all of my payments on time. I'm using your card really, really well, and I'm loving these rewards, but I don't want to pay your yearly fee. Can you waive my yearly fee? 2 times they've waived it for me. All I had to do was call them. They didn't even ask why. I didn't have to tell them that I was tight on budget or couldn't afford it or anything. I just said, I don't want to pay the yearly fee. They waived the yearly fee. It was glorious. I don't know if they want me to tell you that, but I'm telling you. Call them up, have a conversation. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. The next kind of card is Disney. This is one, for those of you that have a lower budget, this is a great one. Oftentimes when our kids are little, we have a lower budget. We don't spend as much money when the kids are little, but when your kids are little, you want to go to Disney. So this kind of makes sense. This one has a super low minimum spend. There's 2 cards. Again, there's a free one and a fee one. The free card is like $500 in 3 months or something. It's a very low minimum spend and you get points. This also has special benefits. You get to meet special characters. You get to book special ways. You get discounts on their hotels. You've got some unique Disney features. If you're a Disney person, get a Disney card. It just makes sense. Again, there's a free one and a fee one. So weigh and measure, see which one works better for you. Hotel cards. These are cool because they have some unique rewards. I've done Hilton and I've done IHG. Marriott is on my list, but most hotel chains have a hotel card. And one of the benefits of the IHG card is you get free room upgrades. So I'll tell you about our San Diego trip in a minute, but we went to San Diego and we booked the very cheapest possible room. And when we got there, we asked them, do you have any room upgrades available? They upgraded us to a 3-bedroom suite for free. 4 nights in a 3-bedroom suite. We paid no extra points, no extra dollars, no extra anything. It just was open and they said, sure, go for it. It was awesome. Free room upgrades on some of those hotel cards. So watch for those. Use your member benefits. Flights cards also have unique benefits like that. You get into lounges at the airport. You get priority seating. You get priority things. So if you are a card holder, that makes you special. They want to treat you special because you're using their product. Again, they reward you for using their stuff. So take advantage of those. Don't be a normal airplane rider if you are a special person. If you are a special member, use your special membership benefits. Other cards that I have used before. So the hotels cards that I have used are IHG and Hilton. I love those two for the room upgrade version or for the room upgrade benefit, but also I just love Hilton hotels. They're always very, very nice. And often they have free breakfasts, so that's a win. Flights cards. Some of these are better than others. Southwest, like I said, they have really low, their ticket prices using points are very low. I love the Southwest card. They also have unique benefits like the companion pass. I love the Southwest card. Delta was good, but they didn't cover as much. They gave you a big bonus, but it cost more points to book tickets. So it's kind of a wash there. American Airlines was great. We used them as well for a trip. Really, really awesome. Great. Frontier, I haven't gotten their card, but I have flown with them and used Capital One to erase those points. They are a very cheap airline. If you're looking for cheap flights, that's the way to go. But know that your seats are uncomfortable. The seats are tiny. They're packing people on those planes. You don't even get snacks or anything like that. So know what your expectations are. If you want snacks and you want movies in the seats and you want the fancy stuff, go with Delta, go with Southwest. If you're okay with cheaper flights, American Airlines, Frontier, that kind of stuff. But the flights are cheap and they don't take very many points. So like I said, this is dependent upon you, what you need, what you want, and what you can afford. Again, other cards that are not specific to those things are Chase Sapphire, which I think is only open for businesses anymore. If you own a business, then go for it. I think it also has a pretty steep yearly fee, so watch that. Barclay, I think, isn't even available anymore, but look into that one. And then Discover has some options sometimes. Usually they're more of a cashback option, but sometimes they have some travel rewards as well. Okay, here are, to close this out, I'm going to tell you my top tricks of the trade. Some of the benefits that I have learned along the way that will just really make this process awesome for you, give you extra benefit in the way that you do it. Number one, I alternate free cards and fee cards. About every other one I apply for is a free card so that I can build my credit age. And about every other one I apply for is a fee card so I can get the maximum benefit, but I know I'm going to close it in a year or two. So my credit age is going to come down. Keeps your stress down, keeps your bonuses up. That's a good way to do it, alternating free and fee. Number two is keep records. Have I mentioned spreadsheets yet? Oh my word. I love it. I keep track of it. It doesn't take a lot of time. Just write down the details. You're not going to remember the details. You think you are, but you won't. It only takes a few minutes and it's going to help you know exactly what to do and how to benefit in the best way possible. Number three, maximize your big purchases. If you know you've got something coming up that you have the money for, you're going to spend it anyway, get a free trip out of the deal. Like I said, I'm doing it next month with braces. I'm about to pay for braces. I'm going to pay for them anyway with cash. I'm just going to put them on a card, then pay them off the next day. I get a free cruise for taking my daughter to get her braces on. It's amazing. Number four, Capital One is king. Like I said before, these guys have really figured out travel rewards. If you get a Capital One card for the cash back, it's not as good. I never do cash back with Capital One because their travel rewards are so much more valuable. If I have 100,000 points, I can only get $100. But if I have 100,000 points, I can get $1,000 worth of travel. Does that make sense? So look into those, make sure that you're getting the right card for what you need. If cash is your problem, look into Discover. They have really great cashback options. MasterCards, there's a million different options out there. So figure out what it is you need, what it is you want, and then find the card that's right for you. Number five is use all the booking possibilities. Check all the websites, spend the time. Like I said before, free travel isn't free because it costs you time, but use the different tools that are given to you. Capital One has a couple of different ways you can book. You can book on their built-in booking tool right there in the rewards, and you can book on other websites. I compare both. I will look on other websites and I will look on the built-in website and see which one is the better deal. And then I'll book it on the better deal and just erase it if it's on another website. Use the purchase eraser and get the credit back. I'll tell you a story about the Grand Canyon and how the built-in tool kind of saved us on one of our trips in just a minute. Number six, stack the deals. If you see a great bargain on another website, book it with the credit card that can cover that purchase. If you see a killer deal on Delta flights, get a Delta card. If you see a killer deal, let's say, well, one of the things, we went on an all-inclusive week-long stay in Cancun, my sister and her husband and my husband and I. And we all went and we found this killer bargain deal on a website called Book VIP. And it's one of those timeshare deals that you have to sit through a presentation. Yes, it absolutely is the worst. But we got a week-long stay in Cancun for $700 for 2 people. It might have even been $500. I can't remember, but it was a killer deal. And then we used the Capital One card and then just erased it. We got that credit back. So it ended up being a free trip that we booked through another website because it was a killer deal over there. And then we used the purchase eraser with Capital One. So it ended up being a totally free trip. Stack the deals, find the good bargains, and then use the right credit card to buy them. And then number 7, like I said before, sometimes you can call the company and get your fee back, get your fee waived occasionally. I'm not telling you this is going to work every time, but sometimes it's worth a phone call. And then number 8, this is not recommended. I don't recommend doing this, but last or worst case scenario, let's say you got one of those $3,000 minimum spend cards and your 3 months is up next week and you still have to spend $400. You're not going to spend $400 in a week, right? Gift cards can save you here. So if you shop at Walmart, get a $400 Walmart card. And then the next month you won't have a grocery bill because it'll be on that card. Like I said before, I don't recommend this because this is pushing you. This is doing that whole push yourself to the limit. But if you got to save the bonus points, you got to save the bonus points. So I had a friend that did this as well. I've never done this personally, but I had a friend that did this. They bought $500 worth of Walmart gift cards so that they could hit their minimum spend on time and still get their free flights. It does work. I don't recommend it. Do it like once. Don't repeat this. This isn't every time you sign up for a card, you should do this. No way. Again, this is entirely all based on my experience. This is not expert. This is not, I've done research on my own. I've done tons of research. And like I said, I've been doing it for 7 years. So I do have some good experience, but I'm not an expert. This is all based on my personal experience. You have to take this for what it is. Take it or leave it. Take what works for you, leave what doesn't, and apply it to your own personal finances because that's the only way this is going to work. Story time. All right, now I'm going to tell you the actual trips we've been on. Some of you were like, well, I don't know how this actually works. This is how it works. Trip number 1. I told you we started this way back in 2014. We spent money on the Capital One Venture One card for a year to save up for this trip. After a year of normal spending on a very tight budget, we had enough points to cover 5 nights hotel and 2 flights. How did we book this trip? We booked this trip using a tool called Google Flights. We had been trying to book a trip for several months and we were super frustrated and we're like, I don't even know where we want to go. The options were too great. We could go anywhere, right? And so we picked a week. We called my parents and said, hey, can you watch the kids this week? And they're like, yes. So we had a week and we had a hotel, or we knew what airport we were flying out of. We lived in Utah at this time, so we knew we were going to fly out of the Salt Lake airport. To use Google Flights, you need to know 2 things. You need to either know where you want to go or when you want to go, and then where you're flying out of. You don't have to know all 3, you just have to know 2 of those things. So we knew where we were flying out of and when we wanted to go. You put in 2 of those things and then you hit go, and it will show you everywhere in the world you can fly to and the price it will cost. 3 seconds, we looked over the whole entire planet. Turns out Aruba had a really good deal on flights that day. I didn't even know where Aruba was. It's down by Venezuela. It's an island in the Caribbean, in case you want to know. So we booked a flight to Aruba because it was super cheap that day. It was cheaper to fly to Aruba than it was to fly to Florida. We live on the continental US, so that's bonkers. So we booked flights to Aruba. And then I went on the online and I just looked up hotels in Aruba and I booked hotels through that Capital One card again. So we booked a 5 nights hotel and 2 international flights to Aruba, completely using points. We didn't spend $1 on this trip. It was amazing. This one I will always remember because you never forget your first. This one also, one of the benefits of this one was that it was very last minute. It was cool to be able to find stuff that last minute at that good of a price. The second trip we went on was the next year, 2016. We went on a road trip to the Grand Canyon by way of Las Vegas. It was a cool little loop that we did. It's not a super fancy vacation and it's not a very expensive vacation because you don't have to pay for flights or anything. We just road tripped it. But this one's unique because when I went to book hotels around the Grand Canyon, They were $250 a night on every website. Every single hotel was either no vacancy or crazy expensive. I don't remember if I booked it last minute or what happened, but I couldn't find a dang hotel on any website. It was crazy. Then I went onto the Capital One website, into the rewards, the built-in booking tool that I've told you guys about. There were 3 hotels for $25. It was crazy. Like, what? They were killer dang deals. So we booked hotels in Vegas and then in a place in Arizona and then in a place in southern Utah for like on points. We didn't pay for any of it. It was absolutely astonishing that I couldn't find them anywhere, any other website except the built-in one on Capital One. Like I said before, Capital One is king. They have this figured out. So we got 4 nights hotel because of the Capital One booking tool. Without that tool, we wouldn't have gone on that trip because I'm not going to pay $250 a night for a hotel room. That's crazy. The next trip we went on was the next year. Like you're seeing a pattern here. We go on about 1 trip per year. I'm not saying this is going to give you the freedom to travel every weekend. This is going to be normal spending. You're going to save up some points. You're going to get some bonuses and you'll be able to use them for awesome trips. Okay. Once a year is about what we average. There's a couple of years here that we've done more than one, but once a year usually is normal for us. Sometimes it's with kids, sometimes without. This one was just a quick weekend trip to Salt Lake City, which is only a couple hours from our house, but we got to stay in a fun hotel that had a water slide in it. We went to a jazz game. We went to see the Christmas lights in Salt Lake City, and we stayed at 2 awesome hotels. The IHG card that I talked about before got us the water slide hotel. And then we stayed at another hotel that had an amazing breakfast. It wasn't like a continental breakfast. It was a full chef and the whole thing all included. And so we stayed in those 2 hotels. It was super fun, super great, awesome trip. We had a great time and we didn't pay a dime. The next trip we went on was a cruise. We took our kids, 2 of our kids, on a cruise with my husband's whole family, his parents and his brothers and their kids. And it was so fun. We had a huge group of people. And again, we barely paid for this trip. This one we did end up paying a little bit for because we didn't have quite enough points to cover everything. But for 4 flights and 7-night cruise for 4 people, we only paid $600. That is a killer deal that I'm still very proud of. Like I said before, we used the Chase Sapphire card to book the cruise. I'm not sure if this one is still available for personal use. You'll have to look into this. And we used the Southwest card for the flights. Love Southwest card, highly recommend. Then we went to Hawaii. We went with another couple, some of our really good friends. And this one, I titled this trip Explore, 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 because we explored every inch of that island. It was amazing. It was so fun. One thing that I have realized that I cannot cover with travel points is Airbnb. So we did end up paying for an Airbnb there and we paid for a catamaran trip. So we ended up paying $500 for this vacation. But our flights to Hawaii and back, which are generally expensive, those were free, and our 3 nights hotel in a beachfront place was free. So we stayed 3 nights in a hotel and 2 nights in an Airbnb. We did have to pay for the Airbnb and the catamaran, but the other stuff was covered with points. So this was an awesome trip. It was so amazing. If you've never been to Hawaii, I highly recommend. We used the American Airlines card for the flights, and we used the Capital One Venture One for the hotels. I forgot to tell you what cards we used on these other pages. Oh, no, I didn't. I already told you. Okay, San Diego was the next trip we went on. This one was so fun. Oh my gosh, you guys, if you've never taken your kids to San Diego, you got to do this. This one I call the Go Kids Adventure because the kids got to plan the trip. It was so fun. First of all, we booked 6 round trip flights with Southwest. It was awesome to be able to put all of that on points, not pay for a dime for 6 people to fly. So cool. And then we had that 4 nights hotel. This is where we got that free room upgrade. So we paid for a super cheap hotel with very few points. And this hotel or this card also gives you a 4th night free. We were just going to go for a weekend and do 3 nights. And then we got the 4th night for free. So we're like, okay, I guess we'll go for 4 nights. So get your free extra bonuses in there. We got the 4th night free. So we paid 3 very, very cheap nights with the cheapest room, but we got upgraded to a suite. It was amazing. We had an awesome room for 4 nights for next to nothing on points and absolutely nothing on dollars. And then we booked those flights with Southwest. This trip actually happened because we had leftover points from the cruise. So we got the card to pay for the cruise. Notice these happened in the same year, 2018. We went on the cruise and went to Hawaii. we got the Southwest card for this cruise and there were points left over. So rather than let those go to waste, we booked a trip to San Diego. So we got 6 flights on extra points. I kind of think, no, I'm pretty sure that we covered all 6 flights with the extra points. Anyway, it was amazing. It was awesome. Totally awesome. I know we didn't pay for flights and I know we didn't pay for hotel. We might have used a couple of Capital One card points for maybe one of the flights, but I can't remember. I do remember that we spent $400 on the Go Pass. This was the coolest thing ever. There are lots of cool travel tips out there. This is a gold mine. This is called the Go Pass. I think it's Go City Pass or City Go, something like that. Anyway, you buy this pass for each individual person. And so it ended up being $400. We paid like $70 per adult and then something else for kids. And, or maybe it was $100. I can't remember. Ended up being about $400 for all 6 of us. And we got to do so much. We got a whole day at Legoland, and then we got the San Diego Zoo, SeaWorld. We got to go on this cool cruise, this harbor cruise right here. We did a ton of stuff on this trip. We went to Belmont, which is a amusement park that's right on the beach. So cool. We did so many things with this pass in just a couple of days. It was absolutely amazing. Highly recommend you get the Go Pass if you're going to anywhere that the Go Pass. I used to just be California cities, but now I think they're all over. So look up the Go Pass. Killer deal. Then we skip ahead a little bit. 2020, we booked a cruise, but it got canceled. And so when we booked this cruise, we used points. We used points on the Capital One card for the cruise, and we used Delta card for the flights, but it got canceled. And so unfortunately, I had already canceled I'd already closed the cards that we used the flights points for. The points on the Delta card was about to give me a fee. And so I needed to close that card. And I couldn't wait for COVID to go away. And so we decided to book sort of a last minute trip just so that we could use these flight points before I had to pay the fee. So this was sort of a last minute trip that was like, how can we use these Delta points? And we ended up getting enough points for 2 international flights, but my sister and her husband wanted to come too, or maybe we went with them. I can't remember who invited who, but anyway, we ended up having enough points for 2 one-way flights. So they had to buy their own one-way flights home, but we had enough points that we could buy 2 international flights round trip for us, and then 2 one-way flights for them to get there, just because we had all these extra points that we had to use up. It was awesome. So awesome. So we booked 2 round trip flights and 2 one-way flights. And then we got that killer book VIP deal, 5 nights. It might have even been 7 nights. Anyway, it was a weekish at an all-inclusive resort. So we didn't pay for food or anything on that trip. It was amazing. That was so fun. Such a cool trip. So the cool thing about this trip was that we got to use our leftovers to help somebody else. We weren't going to use those points, but we were able to share those with someone else. And this cruise, we did the same thing. We had extra points that we used to help one of his other family members to buy theirs. And I also helped his parents to get the Southwest flight card as well. So they flew for free as well on that trip. So this is something that you use for yourself, something you use for your kids, and something you can share with other people, which is what I'm doing here, sharing it with you. Now let's talk about the cruise. We just got back from a cruise a couple of weeks ago that was absolutely incredible. But this trip was years in the making. Like I said before, we booked this trip in 2020 and it got canceled. The flights we had to use. So I used the Barclay card to book the cruise, and then the Delta card to book the flights. And then I closed both of those cards. Quick tip here. If you can, try to do the trip, try to actually travel before you have to cancel the card in case that cancellation issue happens. Because once I closed the Barclay card, I couldn't get those points back. I called the company and said, hey, I'm getting a refund from this cruise, but I used points to book it. And they said, if your account is closed, you cannot have the points back. Those points are gone. I was like, oh no. But luckily, Royal Caribbean was offering a future cruise credit. So rather than take the points back, I applied it to a future cruise with Royal Caribbean, which was awesome. And they offered us 125% of what we'd already paid for that cruise. So we actually got a better cruise, which was cool. Quick disclaimer on that though. that cruise credit can only be used for cruise fare. You can't, even though I used it originally for taxes and fees and all that other stuff, they wouldn't let me use it the second time. So we still had to pay some for this trip because I could only use it for the cruise fare. The taxes and fees and all that other stuff I had to pay cash, which means I still have like $350 at Royal Caribbean on cruise credit. And I don't know if I can use those points, which hurts my heart a little bit. I might just have to plan a trip just so I can use those points. But anyway, sometimes you lose points and you'll just have to move on. So yeah, I have a cruise credit at Royal Caribbean because I used the Barclay card and closed it before we went on the trip. And when it got refunded, I couldn't take the points back. Again, the travel rewards game is kind of a pain sometimes. So the flights, we ended up using our flights with Delta for the Cancun trip, so we didn't have flights anymore. So we just used the Capital One Venture card to book the flights. And then, remember how I said I still had to pay a little bit for the cruise? We ended up using the Capital One card to pay for that, and then using the purchase eraser to get that credit back. So this time the cruise, even though we ended up paying taxes and fees, we used Capital One points to make it free again. So we still didn't pay for this trip. It was amazing. So awesome. So this trip, in all, after 2 years of finally getting this dang thing booked, we ended up using the Royal Caribbean cruise credit, which came from the Barclay card, and the Capital One Venture card. That paid for all of our flights and the additional cruise. So we had to pay $600 in cruise fees and taxes, which were covered by the Venture One or the Capital One purchase eraser. So it ended up being totally free, 7-night cruise and 2 flights to Florida, which not cheap when you're coming from Idaho. Anyway, the point of all of this is just to tell you that you can do it. You can do amazing things if you're on top of stuff. Again, here's a bunch of free tools and deals that I use all the time. It's Google Sheets. Oh my gosh, did I mention spreadsheets? Yes, I did. Please keep a dang spreadsheet, people. Google Flights, again, super cool, awesome, totally free resource to get free or cheap flights, to get the best rate on flights all over the world. You only need to know 2 things. You need to know where you're flying out of and either your date or your destination. You don't have to know both of those things, just one of them. If you know you want to fly to London and you know you're flying from Miami, then you can look up and see what time of year it's going to be the cheapest or what time of year you'll get the best deal. So that's, if you're negotiable on dates, that's a great tool to use. If you're negotiable on locations, again, great tool to use. Credit Karma. I love this for credit score monitoring. When you're just starting out, this is such an important piece of the puzzle, you guys. Please know your credit score. And remember, this is a soft inquiry. If you check it every day, it's not going to negatively affect your score. It is not completely accurate, but it's pretty dang close. So when I was monitoring my own credit score, it would tell me that I had like a 798 on Credit Karma. And then when I actually applied for the card, they send you your score that they got, and it was more like 785. So it wasn't like way off, but it wasn't perfectly accurate either. So know that it's close. It's very important, and it still helps you to know what those 6 factors are and how they're individually moving. It's an incredibly useful tool. Please use it. Then you can find excellent deals on places like Book VIP, Vacation VIP, things like that. Yeah, some of those deal websites come with those annoying presentations, and if you're a sucker like me, holy cow, I would have bought everything. I would own a hotel in Cancun if my husband hasn't been there. So make sure that if you're a little bit of a sucker and they're gonna make you spend your life away on vacation deals wherever you go. But if you have someone who knows how to say no, take them with you. And then another thing to use is deals websites. There's something called Airfare Watchdog that if you put in a couple of different airports that you want to go to, it will send you every time there's a good deal or every time the price drops or something like that. Hey, this week in February, if you want to fly to San Diego, it's only $40, something like that. So good place to watch for deals on flights. Another group, I follow this awesome person on Facebook called Flights from Home. She sends out deals from the Salt Lake Airport. Anytime there's a good deal from the Salt Lake Airport, she knows. I don't know how she knows. She also has a subscription that you can get on that she'll send you way more detailed information. I've highly considered paying for that subscription a couple of times. I haven't jumped in yet. But anyway, good options like that. Look all over Facebook, look all over social media, look all over the internet. There's tons of amazing things out there that people are trying to help you to travel. And then combination passes. These make me very happy. I talked about the Go Pass already to help you get good deals on theme parks in places like San Diego. There's also one called the Get Out Pass. I will drop them a quick shout out here. This is more for local. I bought the Get Out Pass for my own state where I live, and I can do so many fun things for a year in the state of Idaho. So my kids and I went on a trip to Boise, and we hit like a trampoline park and a virtual reality place. And I can't even remember where else we did, but we did like 10 places in 3 days. It was so fun. A lot of the places are one time over the year, and a lot of them are repeats. There's a place just about 20 minutes from our house that is an arcade that gives you free access to games, $5 on their games every single month. So my kids and I go every month and just go and use this fun stuff. We went to an escape room yesterday that was on the card. There's an amusement park in Utah called Lagoon that's on there. We went to a car race. We went to a baseball game, just things like that are local to where you live and things that you can do for a whole year. This is such a great deal. We also had this pass when we lived in Utah. Just so fun. So many states over the US have the Get Out Pass. So look and see if it's in your area and look into that for yourself. In summary, let's go over some quick highlight points here. $0 balance. I can't stress this enough. If you are not in a place where you can keep a $0 balance daily, weekly, get this figured out before you start the travel rewards game, if you want to call it that. Get this figured out first. Zero balance is rule number 1. Rule number 2, don't push yourself and don't spend extra money to get extra rewards. Just make it fit into what you already spend. And anytime you have a one-off purchase that you know is going to be big, look into a credit card that you can get a free trip out of, something you're already going to pay cash for. Number 3, monitor that credit score. Credit Karma is a free tool. Please use it. Fees versus freeze. What is best for you at the moment? Do you need credit age? Open a free card. Do you need a big bonus? Open a fee card. No, and you're going to go in the next year. Know what works best for you, maximize that for yourself. Number 5, keep detailed records, spreadsheet. That's all I'm gonna say. Number 6, don't push yourself beyond your comfort limit. Know where your normal spending zone is. Use that to maximize benefit. Don't dig yourself into a financial hole just to get a free trip. Free trip is not worth financial ruin or the demise of your credit score. Number 7, watch for bonuses and extra perks. Watch these cards, just check them out. Even if you're not going to sign up for one right now, check them out. Look at the Disney card, look at the Capital One card, look at a couple of flights cards, a couple of hotel cards. See where their bonuses are right now. If they're anywhere above 50,000, that's a good bonus. I'm going to say that right now. Most often the Capital One Venture card is around 50,000. Sometimes they go up to 80, sometimes they go all the way up to 100. So watch that one. But anytime anything is over 50,000 points, it's a good bonus. Start with Capital One. Please open the Capital One Venture 1 card first. That's their free one. The bonus will be smaller. It'll probably be like 30,000 points, but the minimum spend will also be smaller. And this is one you can keep open forever. There's no fee on this card. You have access to the built-in booker. You have the purchase eraser. This card is the best. Everyone should start with this one first. Get your feet under you, get you some confidence, make sure you build your spreadsheet, get your system using this card. Like I said, we went on 3 trips with just this card alone before I even opened another card. It was amazing. I love the Capital One Venture one. We still use it. We used it on the cruise last month. I love that card. 3 to 6 month rule. 1 card at a time for 3 to 6 months. Make sure you always hit your minimum spend and make sure you carry a 0 balance. Watch for those subscriptions. Please make sure that your 0 balance doesn't turn into missed payments because you're not paying attention. 3 to 6 month rule, 1 card at a time. Doesn't ding your credit. Smart, easy to keep track of. Just stick with one every 3 to 6 months. It'll make your life easier. The sweet spot is if you know you're going to travel in the next 4 to 24 months, get a specific card for that trip. If you're like, oh, I want to take the kids on a trip before she graduates high school, that's pretty general. You're not going to know if you need cruise or flights or Disney or what. Get some details in first. Know if it's in the next year or 2. If it is, go for it. Get in this and get you some points. Use the points and close the card before the fees incur if it's a fee card. If at all possible, travel before the fee or before closing the card if you can, because that way you don't go through my whole Barclay card experience where you either lose the points or you have to pay double for the cruise. It was kind of a mess. So if you can, travel before the card has to close. Let's see. Optimize your big purchases. We've already talked about this a bunch. If you've got some big expenses coming up, get a card 2 or 3 weeks before that big expense. Use that card, pay it off that day. I'm not saying go into credit card debt when you have a medical bill. Only if you're going to pay something cash, use a card instead and then pay it off. Free travel is not free. If you haven't figured this out yet, it takes time, it takes effort. Even just this presentation was 3 episodes long. This took me a while to get through all of this because I want you to be prepared. I want you to know what you're doing and do it the best way possible. So this is a positive experience in every single way. I don't want you to go in debt. I don't want you to be stressed about this. I don't want you to make mistakes that are going to cost you. But I do want you to understand how fun it is. In 7 years, we've gone on 8 vacations that we would not have otherwise been able to go on with lots and lots of people. Amazing. So if you are willing to put in some effort, some time, some focus and discipline, do this thing. Free travel is not convenient. Sometimes there are blackout dates. Sometimes with those flights, they're not going to let you fly during the week of Christmas. Or they are, but the points, I mean, those flights, normally a flight to Florida is like 40,000 points on Delta. The week of Christmas, it's like 140,000. So it's going to be harder. You can still do it. You can still use points to cover those same flights. And maybe that's the way that you do it. Like you can't afford Christmas time flights because I mean, anytime the price goes up, the points go up as well. So maybe the points is a way that you can afford on season target times without paying tons and tons of money for flights. You'll probably end up still paying some, but it'll be less than if you didn't have the points. So work that out on what you're looking for. But know that it's sometimes inconvenient. Your flight times aren't great. Your hotels, I don't know, the hotels have always been great. So, but just look into that. Know before you go. If you know what the sign-on bonus is, what the minimum spend is, what the redemptions are, or sorry, know before you apply. Know all of these details about the card before you apply so that you know if this is worth it. And if you can do it, then watch for extra perks and bonuses and things like that. Make sure you're using what that card means to you. Like I said, we got a free hotel and a free suite upgrade. If I hadn't looked into that before, I wouldn't have even known that was an option. So make sure you know these options. And then alternating fee cards and free cards. Every other one I apply for is free. Every other one is a fee, usually. That way I keep my credit score staying up and it's very low stress that way. And use all the booking possibilities. I already shared how sometimes the built-in booker is better than the other websites, and sometimes the other websites are better, and you can use the purchase eraser tool with Capital One. Check them all out, get the best deals. And then number 20 is stack the deals. Stack those deals. When you find a good deal like Book VIP, book it on that website, use a Capital One card, and then erase it. I had to pay for that cruise. I had to pay for Cancun using a credit card, but then I used the purchase eraser and I got those points back. So I didn't end up paying $1 for any of those trips. So cool. I love the purchase eraser tool. Sometimes you can call in to waive those yearly fees. If those come around, call the company, say, hey, I'm a really good client. I want to stay with you guys for another year or two. Please waive my fee this year. Sometimes they'll say yes. Sometimes they'll say no. On that same call, if they say no, you can ask them if there's a free card you can downgrade to. So check that out. And know that if you are about to miss your sign-on bonus because you're missing your minimum spend, know that gift cards are an option, but stay away from that if you can. It's not a great option because it gives you more money you have to pay back, if that makes sense. Anyway, it is an option, but it's not a great option. And just the last tip, enjoy yourself. Like, enjoy going on trips. I love traveling. I love seeing new places. And I absolutely love doing it with the people that I care about. It has been such a special bonus to our lifestyle. I absolutely will never go back to traveling, paying for travel. I absolutely love this process. I love doing it. And I love knowing that I'm saving my family money and making it possible that we can go see these amazing places. It does take work, it does take effort, but it absolutely is totally, completely worth it for me. If you loved this and you're interested in more habits like this, these habits, these travel habits, are something I built back in 2015. Like I said, it took a lot of effort before. I don't monitor my credit anymore. I don't, I do occasionally, but it's not a daily habit anymore. But these things were built into my life. How I spend these cards, how I plan my trips. They took effort the first while, but now they're just built in, and it's really, really easy. It's really natural for me now. Same thing with any habit you put into your life. If you want to build some new habits in your life, then these are the options that you can work with me. I am a personal trainer, so I work a lot with healthy habits, but I'm also a habits coach, and I will help you to develop any habit you want. Travel habits, mental health habits. That is a journey I've been on myself. Spirituality habits, finance habits, things like that. If there is something that you know that if you were to have it in your life daily, reach out to me and let's get you in here. There's three different options. Well, there's a couple of different options that you can work with me. First is this top right corner over here, the 3 Essentials Habits Mastermind. This is for any habits that you want that you're feeling overwhelmed by. If you are starting a business and your to-do list is 85 billion things long, let's get you focused on 3 daily tasks you can do and get you moving in an incredible rhythm. This is a spectacular way to give yourself a huge jump start on anything that you're feeling overwhelmed by. Maybe that's mental health. Maybe that's your business. Maybe that is a family relationship that you're like, we have so far to go. I don't even know what to do. Let's get you in here and get you some habits. This is a mastermind program, so you give and you take. And when you come in here, you're going to offer your guidance and your expertise to other people in here that are going to need it. And then also you're going to have a whole group of people that are watching out for you. Every week, we're going to share what's going on, our successes and our struggles, and then we're going to get coached together so that we all succeed, and the rising tide lifts all boats. And the 3 Essential Habits Mastermind is the rising tide. So get in here, get you some habits, and let's go. The other option is the Healthy and Healthy Habits program. If health is your number 1 priority, if you need to lose weight, if you need to get healthy, if you need to overcome an injury, get in this program. It covers all overall health. We're talking nutrition, we're talking portion control, we're talking sugar management, we're talking exercise, we're talking what else? Water, sleep, all of those things. It's all in here in the simplest, most efficient way possible. This is a program I worked on and researched for 10 years, and this is the best of the best now. So get in here, let's get your health under control in a way that's habitual. This is not a diet. This is not a super intense program that you have to count your calories. No, these are lifestyles. Once you make them, you keep them forever. It's a beautiful thing. If you want healthy living every single day without thinking about it, Healthy and Happy is for you. If you want to just keep listening to more stuff like this, whether you're tuning in on the Habits and Humor podcast, or if you're checking this out on Facebook or Instagram or wherever else you're finding this, Win-Win Women, check out Habits and Humor. This is a great podcast. The audio version is on all podcast platforms. If you want to attend the video version, every single Monday at 9 a.m. Mountain Daylight Time, I have a live session, 30 minutes of podcast and then 30 minutes of Q&A. If you catch something on this podcast that you're like, okay, I want to know a little bit more about that, or I have some questions about that. This travel stuff, if you're ready to start right now, attend one of these live ones and come to the last 30 minutes. Come to the Q&A afterwards. You get free coaching. This is not a paid platform. This is through winwinwomen.com. And I work with these ladies to get our messages out there. So this is a free service. I'm live recording the podcast for the first 30 minutes, and then it's a Q&A 30 minutes after that. It's totally free. Every single Monday at 9 a.m. Mountain Daylight Time. If you want that link, send me a message or head to winwinwomen.com and then click on the Habits and Humor channel. Or just come on at 9 a.m. and they'll give you the link. Or send me an email. I can give you the link. And last but not least, livelifeconscious.com. That's where my hub is. That's where everything is. The podcast is on there. The habits is on there. The courses are on there. It's all on there. The book is on there. I'm a published author. Talked about the book with the finances and some other simple habits to start with. check it out. If you're interested in learning more or working with me, you can find me on all of those places, or just reach out to me on Instagram or Facebook at Susie B Life. Thanks, you guys. Thanks for being here. I hope this has been very valuable information. I know it was a lot. You're not wrong about that. It was a lot, but I hope it was a lot of value. I'm not just going to give you a recommendation and then send you out and hope that you do okay. I'm going to give you all that I know, and I'm going to help you to turn it into a habit. So I'm very much not about short-term fixes. If you want to go on a trip, great. I'm going to help you put that into your life. I'm not going to help you do it once. I'm going to teach you how to do it so that you can keep doing it. I've been at this for 7 years. If you want to lose weight, I'm not going to teach you how to lose weight and then gain it back next year. I'm going to teach you how to lose it and actually keep it off. If you want to start a business, I'm going to teach you how to put habits into your day so that your business runs every single day, progressing as a well-oiled machine instead of a roller coaster. If you're an entrepreneur, you understand that fully. Or even if you're not an entrepreneur and you're just a working mom with a really busy schedule, get in here. Let's get you some habits. Let's get you on the right track so that you feel happy in the life you have. You're able to find joy and success and progress in the present. And also at the same time, you're mastering those habits that will keep you moving forward, being healthy, being happy, being successful long into the future, way after you've stopped thinking about these amazing habits. Okay, you guys, I'm Susie B. Thank you for tuning in for Habits and Humor. We'll catch you next week.